Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Thanksgiving morning, November the 25th, 2021. And this highway we're on here is Highway 334 out of Brackettville, headed toward Leakey, Texas. That's how it's pronounced, but it's spelled L-E-A-K-E-Y. But we're just out for a drive, and we're reminiscing in my mind about the 1950s. When I grew up, I'm age 76, born in 1945. And trust me, as most of you know, things were quite a bit different then. And but to give you an example, I grew up on a farm in South Texas, Kennedy, Texas, Kennedy, in Karnes County. And yeah, we had a little farm. Yeah, we had tractors and plows and combines and all that stuff. And we picked cotton and fed hogs and fed chickens and had a few cattle, not many. And lived a good, healthy life by and by. There were 4 children, of course, my parents, so a total of 6. So on Thanksgiving Day, of course, my mother was a great cook. She had 2 sisters who would come over, my aunts, and bring their children. My one aunt had 1 son, and the other aunt had 2 sons. So there'd be a total of 7 kids there. And of course, all 3 of those ladies would cook. Mother did the primary part because she was the better of the 3. And we had a feast. I mean, we didn't have turkey. My mother didn't like turkey because she said it was too dry. So she would bake hens, large chickens, okay? And we just happened to have chickens, and my brother and I would go out and chop the heads off. I mean, I know you can wring their neck. My brother could, but I couldn't. And that's the way that goes. Probably wouldn't even want to do it now, because I'd be a little squeamish about cutting the head off a chicken. So, but back then it was just the way things were done, and we'd just go out there and catch us a couple of chickens, and that was done. And then you had to get the feathers off and all that crap. And Mother then would clean them up and bake them. And that's how that would go down for that main meal. And then she, of course, made dressing and all the potato salad, pea salad, and all kind of stuff. You know, homemade bread, rolls and stuff. No, it was a maximum feast. And with all the people there, counting the kids, there was probably, well, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 6 adults, maybe, or so, 8 maybe, and 7 kids. So, and we had 2 tables, one in the living room, which was very small. The room was small. The table had some leaves you could put in it, and all the adults would sit there. Then there was another little dining room off the kitchen area where I grew up. It was on a house on a hill, nice home, beautiful view, all that crap. Anyway, but in this little dining area off the kitchen, that's where we ate, the family ate all of our meals all of the time, except on special occasions, and Thanksgiving and Christmas were, of course, those special occasions. So the kids, all of us would fill our plates and then go into this little room off the kitchen where there was a table, but that's where we had our meal, separate from the adults, because they didn't want us in there because we were too damn loud, I guess. I doubt it. I don't think any of us were loud kids. I honestly don't. We were very mannerly, or we'd get knocked cold out. You know what I mean? There wasn't any of that Dr. Spock crap back then. But moving right along, we're on Highway 334, headed out of Brackettville, headed well, let's see, I think it says east, kind of close. So having said that, back to the Thanksgiving 1950s, then we'd sit down and pig out. And of course, back then you could get firecrackers on, Thanksgiving. We'd go pop firecrackers and do all the things the kids did. And in Kennedy, the population of the little town wasn't much. The high school that I graduated from, I graduated, my senior class had 60 people, 60. And out of the 60 people, I graduated 59. You know I was a good student. Actually, I was in some ways. But be that as it may, the guy behind me, number 60, I won't give his last name, but his last name was Paul. And but here's the funny story about it is, I went on to become a CPA and develop a 6-figure income. And then Paul, the guy below me, started a trucking company in Kennedy, and he's a very wealthy individual today. He got a big home, all that stuff. So enough said about graduating last in your high school class. But the funny thing about that is some universities will only accept those children or those students that were in the top 25% of their graduating class. What they should accept is the bottom 25%, okay? Because that's where the knowledge is. These are the people who are going to do something because they've been doing it for 12 years in high school. They've been having fun. So anyway, enough said about that. But, Elon Musk and Google and Microsoft, now they've learned over the years, they don't care if you have a degree or a PhD or what. If you can do the job, you get it, okay? And I like that attitude because that's a good deal. Enough said about that. Back to the night. Turn your clock back to 1950. If you visualize a 1950 Ford or a 1950 Chevrolet or a 1950 Dodge pickup, then you know what I'm talking about. They certainly didn't have power windows or any of that crap. Most of them didn't even have a radio or any of that. You had roll-up windows. They were all standard transmission, except I think Chevrolet had an automatic in 1950 that was virtually new. But we had an old 1949 Dodge pickup, standard shift, on the floor, 3-speed on the floor, and it had the old clutch, the old hydraulic clutch, hydraulic brakes, none of this disc stuff. We didn't have any disc brakes. There were no blinker lights, no turn signals, no seat belts, no padded dash, no airbags, none of that crap. And the cars back then were built like army tanks. They had plenty of iron in them. Plenty. You know what I mean? If you hit another car head on, both cars stopped, and the steering wheel went through your chest, and then you went through the window with it. You know what I mean? It was pretty gruesome stuff. And so yeah, we've made a lot of good changes in automobiles over the years. Did they last very long? Not really. You had to tune them up every 2,000 or 3,000 miles, points, plug, condenser, and all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about, you old timers. And but I used to I know I've told some of these stories before, but I don't care. But anyway, for me, I learned how to drive when I was about 9 years old. I could drive that standard shift Dodge pickup because what Daddy would do is he'd send me into town in that Dodge pickup to get feed at the feed store. Certain things we had to get for the hogs and stuff, the chicken. And because most of the chicken feed we did ourselves, because we raised corn and grains and stuff, and we cracked that up. And of course we let them run wild until the evening, and then we'd put them up in their chicken roost where they spent the night to keep the coyotes from getting them. But even doing that, coyotes are pretty smart. Can they learn how to get up and down those steps that we had? Yep, they sure can. But anyway, to get into town, to drive the vehicle, first of all, I wasn't a big kid. In fact, I was the shortest kid in my class up until about my sophomore year. And then all of a sudden I had a growth spurt and I became one of the tallest. I don't know what happened. My mother must have gave me some growth hormones or something. But be that as it may. So I certainly wasn't a tall kid at 9 years old. So I had to put 2 pillows in the seat of the pickup, and then I had to scooch forward, if you know what scooch is, like move forward the seat as far as it come forward, and then lean way up and so I could reach the clutch and push it in far enough to get it in gear and shift the gears. So it was a real accomplishment for me to be able to drive to town and back without killing everybody on the highway. Well, fortunately, there was nobody on the highway back then because there just weren't many people driving back then. But having said that, get to the feed store, load up a few bags of whatever Daddy told me to get, and just sign a ticket and go back home. And that's how I learned to drive, and it was a lot of fun. In fact, sometimes, my dad later on began working with the co-op gym, raising and managing crops, and, crop rotation and all kinds of stuff. And so we'd go around and check crops in different areas of Corns County, and he'd let me drive, okay? And so that was a big deal, you know what I mean? And I tried to, back then they didn't have synchronizers in the transmission. I know a lot of you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, but a synchronizer synchronizes the gears so that when you shift, you don't grind the gears, Well, they didn't have synchronizers back then. and so you kind of double clutched it, or you just waited and then you shifted. But I got pretty good at it. I could shift without grinding the gears, and I was real proud of myself about that. And but it was a lot of fun growing up back then, because there were no rules other than common sense and good judgment. And unfortunately, we don't have much of that today. Common sense has pretty much been made politically incorrect, and good judgment possibly also has been made politically incorrect. So enough said about that. But another thing we used to do as kids, all four of the kids, 2 girls, 2 guys, and what we'd do, Daddy would let us ride on the, he'd put the tailgate down, and of course it was held up by these chains on both sides, so it was safe. Of course, we didn't worry, but we didn't think about safety back then. I mean, as far as I know. And so we would sit there on that tailgate, and Daddy'd drive around on the farm or go somewhere on the property, and we'd be just sitting back there. Anyway, straight ahead of us, guys, is the good part of the Texas Hill Country. That's around Lakey, Campwood, Garner State Park area, and I don't know how well it's coming through on the camera because we're pretty far away. But yeah, this is a beautiful drive, Highway 334. I'm not going to drive on it too long because I have to get back and fix my Thanksgiving lunch, or dinner for me, breakfast. When we grew up, or I grew up, it was breakfast, dinner, and supper, okay? And it's still confusing today when somebody says the word lunch, or if they really want to screw me up, they say brunch, okay? And so anyway, dinner for me is the noon meal. So for dinner, I'm going to fix me a Thanksgiving meal, and I need to get back and kind of get that started here in a little bit. Even though there's not much to do, I'm going to fix up a little decent meal. I'm going to fix some Spam. But anyway, yeah, the name of that ranch right there is Mountain View Ranch. Beautiful ranches out in here. Enough said. Back to 1950. Turning the clock back, guys. Yeah, the things we didn't have back then, it's too many to enumerate. I mean, it's just compared to what we have today. Cell phones. My God, if you had a phone back in the 1950s, that was amazing. And if you did have one, you were on a 6, 8, or 10 8-party line. And our phone number was 503W1, and you actually picked up the phone and told the operator the phone number you wanted to call. Okay, and that's right. And then later on, it was later when they went to the dial, the rotary dial phones. That was later, and then they went to touch tone, of course, and on we go. But we had one of those phones you just picked up, and one of my cousins worked for the phone company in Kennedy, Texas. They had 4 or 5 or 6 telephone operators work with Southwestern Bell or Bell Telephone, the only phone company at that time until they got busted up. But yeah, she was an operator, and so if I was in town somewhere and I was just a kid, 1st, 2nd grade, whatever, I'd just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Patsy, where's Mama?" And she'd say, "Well, she's at a PTA meeting," or something like that, and then that'd be the end of that mess. So yeah, that's what you call small town America, isn't it? I mean, really. But yeah, you got 60 kids you graduate with in high school, and I know there's a lot of you that probably went to smaller schools than that. And but anyway, there's a road here that says Tularosa Road. How about that? Go to Tularosa on this road. I might go down it a little way. Just a hell of it. Let's go see Tularosa. Huh? Tularosa, New Mexico. Let's see what we got here. This is 3199. It goes north, so we'll go down a little bit. Well, we got Davis helicopters down here. Huh, how about that? But anyway, back to 1950s. Growing up, so totally different that I can't even tell you, man. It's just, first of all, we didn't even have really radios. We weren't able to make a lot of noise with our cars. Well, we did. There was something you could do to your car that would make it loud. Okay, they were called Smitties. Basically, that was just a straight exhaust pipe with no muffler. Okay, muffler means like muffling the sound. Well, without a muffler, a car is damn loud. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Yeah, so we did all that stuff as kids, and drag races and all that stuff, and lowering the car in the back, and lowering it in the front, and lowering it all the way around, and fancy hubcaps. I'm sure all you guys can remember these things. I know I can. And a pair of dice hanging off the mirror was kind of neat. And yeah, it was. If you had a radio in your car, that was cute. But if you had a stereo, which came in the '60s, oh, then that was maxed out. You started out with 4-track tapes, 8-track tapes, and then you went to CDs and all that other stuff. So they brought us along well, and on the way they cleaned out our wallet. Okay, are they good? Is marketing good? Yes. Yeah, they just kind of move us down the pipe and keep their hands in our pockets all the way down or all the way up, depending on your point of view. So it was a really good life for me, but it was just the way it was for me. Now, children that are born today, it's the way it will be for them. And people that are 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever their life was, that's just the way it is or was for them. See? Does it matter? Does it make it any difference? Not really, but when I reminisce and think about, quote, the way it was, it's really fun. I mean, it's a good mental exercise for me. It's very peaceful. And this area that we're looking at here, this surrounding environment, is basically the same as it was in Kennedy, Texas. It was mesquite and weed-satch brush, thorny as hell, cactus and stuff. But we were farmers, so we had cleared land where we could plant crops and stuff. And I won't go over all of it, but we planted, the normal stuff, flax, corn, grains and stuff, and cotton. And made a good living, sure did. We made a good living, because I remember, I know I've said this before, but I remember my father was asked a question by a kid a little older than me named Howard, and he asked my dad what it would take for him, how much land would he need to be able to get married and raise a family. Daddy thought for a minute and said, about 80 acres ought to do it, son. Well, back then you could actually make a living if you handled it properly on 80 acres of land. And that must be the helicopter place off to the right there, because there's a metal building with a little airport looking facility. But there ain't no helicopter. None. But anyway, we'll turn around down here. I'm going to go a little way and turn around and head back. Just burning daylight, guys, on Thanksgiving Day 2021. Can you believe that? 2021, I'm still here. Hopefully I'll be here in 2022. We're going to make a turn here. Oh, one thing good about having this little old car, Sparky, is it just doesn't take any room at all to turn it around. It really doesn't. You turn around on a dime, so to speak. And notice there's not a whole lot of traffic on this road, right? But you see this, if you can see that fence off to the right there, that's what they call a game fence. That keeps the deer in. So that's a place to go hunting for deer and other stuff. The sad part about it is, see, the deer don't really care if that fence is there or not. They would rather roam free like they have for hundreds of years, you see. But fortunately, these ranches are so damn large, because a deer doesn't roam very far, probably a couple of miles from where they're born, and that's it, or a few miles, not far. And, there's the Tularosa Clark Ranch. They got pronghorns out there. But anyway, so it's a good life if you make it that way. I don't even know what I was talking about, guys. Shit, I lost that train of thought in a nanosecond. You certainly didn't have any kind of... There were no computers in 1950. None. You had a 10-key adding machine, and that was about as computer as it got. And cash registers, you had to pull a little handle back to bring up a sale at a cash register. Yeah, and there were no credit cards at that time. None. No credit cards. You paid cash for everything, or wrote a check. We did have checks. Sure did. And there's people today that you'll see still writing checks. Why? Because they never got out of the habit. And they don't trust credit cards. My mother didn't. And there's other people still in my family that still don't. They'll still write a check. So, but yeah, things have changed. Things will always change. And the main thing you need to remember, if you remember anything from this video, is adapt, adapt, adapt. Adapt to change. Don't resist change. You can if you choose to. That's your choice, because I know some of you sitting there watching this video don't have a smartphone. and you're saying to yourself, well, I'll never have one of those things. And that's fine. That's your choice. That's fine. But at some point, you may have to have one, okay, to buy gasoline or get groceries, because where they're headed is pretty much a totally cashless world. We're almost there now. I mean, I haven't used any cash in I don't think I've used any cash this month. Okay? I mean, it's credit card, and I pay the credit card off every month. I don't leave a balance there so they charge me interest. That 20% they charge. No. I've been with Visa for I don't know how many years. I've never paid an interest charge or any kind of fee at all, ever. So, with that in mind, yeah. So it was a different world, you know. I mean, if you got in a spaceship today and went to a planet where the human race had evolved to the year 1880, okay, you would certainly be an alien. I guarantee you that. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know what the hell to do. You wouldn't even know how to use the restroom, probably. So anyway, guys, we've gone on here long enough. But anyway, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'm enjoying mine best I can. And just burning a little daylight out here and enjoying this drive. I enjoy drives like this. See, when there's no traffic and there's several little roads around here I can do this on. And Fort Clark Springs, where I'm living, I got all those trails for triking and walking. So old Rusty has found him a home. Now, I'm nesting. There's no doubt about that. I feel like a little pack rat. So, you know, what's going to happen later on? I don't know, man. But right now, old Rusty is damn comfortable. And I plan on enjoying life best I can while I'm here. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, here comes 2 cars. What do? Oh, no, Mr. Bill. 3 cars. That's that same 3 cars we passed earlier, 4. They up to something. I guarantee you that. I don't want to know what. But anyway, guys, from near Brackettville, Texas, Fort Clark Springs, thumbs up, carpe diem. Carpe diem means seize the day in Latin. Carpe diem, adios, bye-bye. Buy anything you want anytime. But if you think about it, use the link to Amazon products in the description of all of my videos. Why? Because it doesn't cost you 1 penny. Just click on the link, go to Amazon, buy whatever you choose, okay? Enjoy your life. Enjoy your Thanksgiving day. Keep your health. Adios. Bye-bye.